vibe and tone. Dave is really on the money. And like I said, it was a second single, and it had a cool video of Dave going through New York City in black and white. He really builds the song up to a crescendo and then totally delivers. I was very proud of Roth in this. It was very jazzy. I mean, you look back at this album, there's some real gems in there. You know, it really is some good. This is one of the gems. I happen to really, really like. I love Roth doing covers. I think he really, really does a good job with them. And here, he makes it his own. What do you think?
He does make it his own. It's a decent job.
Uh-huh.
Again, the keyboards taking the place of string instruments does not work and cheapens the song down. But again, another great example, when Dave slows it down, it really works.
Right.
And he's got a strong song to work with.
Right.
And he's not, and his vocals are good on this. He's got the background vocalist going.
Unbelievable.
Right? But the best part of this song, as you said, it was a single.
Yep.
And in the UK, it was a 2-part single.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Now, what do I mean about that? So back in the 90s, when record companies were trying to get people to buy singles,
right,
in the UK, 1 week, they would put out the song with some B-sides.
Right.
And then another week or two later, they'd put out the same song again with different songs as B-sides.
Right.
So you would buy it twice.
Right.
And in this case, Roth had some live songs he had done from the premiere of Your Filthy Little Mouth, which, Dave, if you remember, you and I were looking for these live songs forever.
Oh, yeah.
Forever, because for some reason we had heard the debut or we had missed it or somehow we hadn't recorded it.
Yeah.
And you and I were going gangbusters looking for this.
Yep.
And now, so here's a funny aside story. And Dave, you tell me if you remember this.
Yeah.
So we go see Roth for the second time.
Okay, is this
and
one?
we go
right,
and we go to Malibu,
right,
on Long Island,
right.
And if you remember, we met a guy, and so when we're hanging out, waiting to see Roth for like ever,
right,
which is another story,
right.
But anyway, we were talking with a guy there who was also a fan, and I remember he had white hair, really white hair.
Okay.
I mean, like Johnny Winter.
Like
white
Phil
hair.
Donahue white hair?
No, like Johnny Winter.
Oh, like
white
Johnny
hair.
Winter. Okay, yeah.
Like really, really white hair. And that was the one thing I remember. No, the second thing I remember about the guy is he had the biggest doobie I've ever seen in my life.
Oh, really?
And you don't remember this? He whips out this doobie, which is like a cigar.
Right, yeah.
And we were like, dude, put that away, because we just didn't feel like getting arrested before we saw Roth.
Right.
But he said he had the live versions of these songs on a reel-to-reel tape. And we like exchanged phone numbers and we were trying to get in touch with him and like nothing ever happened with it. And so finally, when this CD single came out, I was like, oh, thank goodness.
Right.
And then, of course, because it was only 5 live songs, we thought it was a whole show and we were looking for the rest of the show.
Right.
But it turns out there was no rest of the show because he was just doing 5 songs and introducing the album, and that was that.
Right. It was almost like finding a mini live EP, and that was a real find. And it
was, because I think to date that's been Roth's only legit live release, right?
Of solo stuff, sure.
Of solo stuff, yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
And, I don't know if you remember this part to the story, but you were so desperate for those reel-to-reel tapes that you ended up dating the guy for like 5 months, didn't you?
Somehow I forgot about that.
But he got him, folks. God knows what he did. It's all behind scenes.
Dave, can I tell you one thing?
Yeah.
I tried the Chopin line, and it still didn't work. Wow. I never got the reel-to-reels.
Oh, well, look, hey, it doesn't always work. And maybe it works for Roth. It doesn't always work for us regular guys.
Right, but I would tell anybody if you could find those.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I'm sure this. Actually, I know the live songs are out there on YouTube.
Are they already? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. They're very interesting.
What would somebody look up under to find them?
I mean, you could just look up the song titles. Like, just type in like David Lee Roth live.
Right.
She's My Machine.
Okay, and Dave, why don't you tell everybody the 5 songs that are live? She's My Machine.
So the 5 live songs are Jump, She's My Machine, Panama, Big Train, and Experience.
Right, absolutely. Okay, so this leaves us to the next to last song, which is Sunburn. Now, this has the feel of Coconut Grove from the 1985 EP, Crazy from the Heat, right?
Yes.
Very similar. It's got a samba beat. Dave's getting a little whispery and a little affected with his voice. I like the chorus, but the verses are a little bit weird and dry, but I do enjoy the song. The guitar work on it, again, Terry, fantastic. The album is worth getting for Terry. I mean, he's that good. A lot of cool work on the guitar here. The song has a really cool mode. It really doesn't go anywhere. It starts off and kind of stays in the same mode. And it's very vibey and trippy, very tropical, hazy type of song. Did you feel the same way, Dave? Did you feel like the song kind of built up to this mode and then just never took off anywhere, just sort of stayed in one mode and then drifted off?
No, I like it a lot more than you do, actually.
Okay.
I like the fact it finds a really good mode, as you call it, and just rolls with it.
Right, it rolls, it does.
The whole song. And Roth is almost like, he's like whispering.
Yeah. This is,
he finds that wheelhouse, he stays in it, and it works really well. If he had ended the album without the remix song, with this, I think it would have been a nice ending to the album. I am usually not a big fan of ending albums with a slow song.
Right.
It's kind of like, come on, don't you want to end on like with a cymbal crash or something?
Sure.
So, but this song, it's one of the better songs on the album, probably one of the top 3, honestly, in my opinion.
Right.
But that's like what frustrates me the most is that, like, come on, Dave, the best songs on the album are the slow ones?
Yeah.
What's wrong with this picture?
It's a little different. Like I said, this is Dave really taking a left turn. We'll just wrap up here with You're Breathing It, Urban in New York City mix. Like we said before, it's not really necessary, and it's fun and dancey, but it kind of takes away from the rock swagger of the original version. It's fine, but unnecessary. It kind of defangs the original. Weird part is about 2 minutes and 39 seconds in, Dave raps. Remember?
Yeah.
That's sort of weird. And though I do love the solo Terry plays on this one. This has got a sweet solo on here. Sort of a sign of the times, this song, have a remix version on an album. It never really was a single. I don't know what the plans for were, but very strange way to end the album. I would have preferred to remove this, throw Mississippi Power somewhere in the middle of the album, and then maybe ended with a Sunburn, like you said. Do you have any more comments on You're Breathing It, the remix, Dave?
Only that I thought that song was how I was expecting the rest of the album to sound, to be honest with you.
Oh, really?
Well, when I found out Niall was producing it, because David always liked dance music.
Right.
And, we've spoken to Billy Sheehan before.
Yeah.
And he talked about how Roth really liked dance music.
Right.
And certainly was approaching that more so with Skyscraper than ever before. So I thought, 94 was, there was definitely lots of dance music going on then. There was no shortage of it.
Oh, yeah, that's for sure.
So I thought, that would be something Roth would try. He finally like, I'm going to get that out of my system.
Yeah.
I'm going to work with Niall and do it. So, I thought he was going to do a lot more of that stuff.
Yeah, and, I tell you, what I was surprised at is Dave came up in the clubs playing some of that. When I say dance music, I mean old school dance music, not like not like
70s funk.
Yeah, like 70s funk and all that stuff. And Dave was playing in the clubs that he used to make Eddie play, and Eddie would be rolling his eyes because Eddie wanted to play like Black Sabbath covers and stuff like that, and Cream. But Dave wanted to play these boogie woogie songs, like Casey and the Sunshine Band, like all kinds of crazy stuff. What he said was to bring the girls in there, get the dancing going. he kind of knew about the marketing of the band more than Ed did, and I have to be surprised here. Like you said, like with Nile, I thought Dave might experiment a little in that area, but there's none of that there. None of that there.
No. Except for that song.
Yeah, exactly. But that's shocking. I don't know. This album is such a mystery. I mean, I have a real affection for it because I just enjoy. I mean, you and I had some great adventures on this tour. We went and saw them at the Academy.
Yes, that's true.
When we saw Terry in the band. And then
we did. And then he autographed my CD.
That's right. We got into that in the interview. And then also we went to an after party. Remember, Dave, where we met Dave in the bathroom?
That's right. Where it looks like we're standing in a bathroom.
Yeah, exactly. But we're not. We were. It was a bathroom. So,
well, I think the bathroom was behind us.
It was behind us, yeah. And we met David. Then we went on that adventure to go see him in Malibu, where he had literally almost a different band with him. Do you remember that?
Well, he had switched out guitarists.
I think he had different drummer. No.
No. It was the same. Ron. I think I'm going to butcher his name. Wixo, something like that. Right, it was the same drummer. He had switched out, which Terry talks about in the interview. Had switched out Terry for Rocket Rochelle.
Right, Rocket, who we interviewed, of course. I do enjoy this album. I listen to it from time to time. I do. I don't shun it. I love Big Train. I love Experience. I love Cheatin' Heart Cafe. I love You're Breathing At The Rock version. Land's Edge, Nightlife. I like these. Half. She's My Machine. I like half the album. Love. Half the album's okay, but it's sort of a fun ride. This album. I mean, it's very Roth. It's very Roth in many ways because it shows a lot of the different colors and sides to the 12-sided die that Dave is. I think, I give him credit for really going for it, and it really does have the feeling that, hey man, this is the last album on our contract. Screw it. I'm hiring Nile Rodgers. This whole album was recorded in New York when Dave was living in Manhattan. It definitely has a New York vibe to it. Maybe that's why I'm drawn to it. But it's really something different from the catalog. That's for sure. I have to say about Dave, his catalog's pretty varied because Eat 'Em and Smile is totally different from Skydraper, which is totally different from Little Ain't Enough, which is totally different from Your Filthy Little Mouth, which is totally different from Crazy from the Heat. So there's a lot of variations there. And I think, Dave as a solo artist was pretty fearless if you think about it. I mean, he tried, of course, to score commercially and continue to have hits and commercial success. And, he did that to some degree, but not fully. And I give him credit for not just following the typical hairband path, which he could have rode until the end of time. And, he certainly did some of that, but he definitely took a different turn here, and it's not a bad turn. There's a lot of good stuff here. I definitely recommend this album. Listen, you got to be a Dave fan. I mean, you got to be a Dave fan. It's as simple as that. It's not if you're just a Van Halen fan and you want some more Van Halen stuff here. You're not going to get a lot of that. Maybe She's My Machine and Big Train, but even Big Train's not like Van Halen. So there's not a lot of for Van Halen fans here. But for Dave fans, if you like Roth and you like his variety and trippiness and his wild out there sort of behavior, this is a fun album. This is a fun album to get involved with, and I do think it's better than it was treated. What about you to sum up?
I don't recommend the album. It's towards the bottom of my pile, and I think it's a crime that this album is still available on iTunes, but DLR Band is not.
That's true. I don't understand that at all. We talked about that on the last episode about albums being available on iTunes, getting pulled from iTunes, why it's not there. I personally think it's paperwork. It's very simple. I think it's whoever owns the album, in this case, Warner Brothers. They own Crazy from the Heat. They own Eat 'Em and Smile. They own Skyscraper. They own A Little Ain't Enough. They own Your Filthy Little Mouth. And they did all the paperwork to make sure it's all available out there. But that DLR Band album, I should say, is owned by Dave. It was all done by Dave on his What Was That records. And I really think the reason that's not available is all paperwork. It's just about getting it up there. I can't tell you how many artists I have spoken to, and I would say to them, dude, how come your stuff is not on iTunes? And they'd be like, oh, I gotta get on that. Like, I'll speak to an artist who has, like, maybe a couple live albums or something that are really good, but, and like, what, why aren't the live albums up? I'm like, oh, I gotta get around to that. And that's been like 5, 6 different artists that I've spoken to specifically about it. And they never, and the funny thing is, every single artist that I've asked them, how come